syndications allow you to grow faster, right? So what happens is when you are managing large, because of the economies of scale, you are managing large apartments, you are managing large units, you are managing large number of tenants, which also means you are managing a large income stream, right? So if you have, if you are managing a piece of larger income streams, your additional income, or your separate income stream can grow very fast if you build up those large unit count and becoming a partner on the large unit deals. It takes a while to decide. It takes a while to get together, really get the right people together, have those roles and responsibilities defined. A lot of negotiation happens because it's a large deal, and shareholders' money, external money is involved, right? So the shareholder is the fourth entity there, right? Because I may have 10 shareholders, somebody else may have 10 investors. They are calling every time, when it will close, how is the process going, how far have you guys reached? So that's another thing that we need to deal with.
Wow. So that's amazing. I love what you said. And you said that, collectively as a group, you're able to, knock down these higher costing properties. And it's coming together as a team and networking and your mentor and just that part of your growth, and then coming together, and you're more powerful with the collective group. Definitely dropping some gems here. Hey, so for our listeners, this is definitely going to be a great episode, and I knew that. Welcome to the Income Producing Assets Show. I am your host, Erwin Anderson, and here at Ander Enterprise, we choose to focus on achieving financial security through income producing assets. And today we are here with the great Hemant.
Thank you.
Hey, Hemant, how you doing today, brother?
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you for inviting me. Absolute pleasure and honor to be on this podcast.
Awesome. How you doing today?
Good. Lazy Sunday, but yeah, it's been a productive year. Looking forward to close it productively, and with one last property, and it should be good for 2023.
Nice. So for the listeners out there, Hemant is just someone who absolutely killing it in the multifamily space with joint ventures, JVs, syndications, you name it. So Hemant, the great, if you would like to, tell us a little bit about your story and how you got into your income producing assets.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Arvind. First of all, there's nothing great about what I have done. So I get conscious when someone suddenly says that. But well, thank you for again, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for considering me worthy enough to be here. But just to give a background to folks, I'm a full-time W-2 person. I live in California. I've always dreamt of doing something different, like focus more on some of the charity activities that I do on my own over the years, right? And one way was to spend more of my time, how I control my time, and how I would be able to do something without worrying about my W-2, and the salary that comes in. One great way of doing that was to have another income stream, and real estate was at that time, that time was probably one of the best ways to get another income stream coming in. So I started reading about real estate hardly 14-15 months back. And I first thought maybe I'll buy residences and they will appreciate, but I quickly realized that game would not work to replace my monthly income. Then I started reading about options in real estate, and that's where I realized that there's multifamily and apartment investing and operating apartments, which is a very nice field that I can get into and progress on, so that will build up build up another income stream, right? So uh, that thought, led me to listen to various podcasts. It also put me in touch with my mentor, who's done thousands of apartments and operates thousands of apartments in the US. And it also helped me to network when I started visiting these real estate events. Right? So through the network, through building relationships, is where I came in, and the whole game of being in multifamily and buying these apartments, whether it's small or large, is how people join hands. Because buying four, five, $7 million apartments, it's not my cup of tea. It's not. I don't have that financial capability. But when you join hands and you bring in investors, you can buy any size apartments, right? That's the thumb rule. So I made a path, or rather, I planned a path for myself where I can come in. I can work with my partners and my investors. We come together and we buy these apartments. We raise their value, and once and through the rents that come in, a separate income stream comes to me and to my investors, right? And I wanted to be on the active side of doing things. So that's the reason I took up the active role of managing the apartments as a general partner and not just be a passive investor. So that was how I started. And that was the first step which I took, that I want to actively operate and manage these apartment buildings for myself and for my investors and generate that income stream. So that was my start in real estate.
Wow, wow. So that's amazing. I love what you said, and you said that collectively as a group, you're able to, knock down these higher costing properties, and it's coming together as a team and networking and your mentor and just that part of your growth, and then coming together and you're more powerful with the collective group. So can you explain like your first deal?
Sure. So actually, there were two deals that happened simultaneously, literally like one day after another. The first happened was a small joint venture where we met at a real estate event, and nobody had done partnerships before. And I've been because I have traveled a lot, and I've been dealing with uh, all kinds of personalities. And I quickly realized that people were not that excited about partnerships, as their first thing, first in their first deal. So I kind of got this group together where we discussed ideas, and I quickly realized this group can come together and buy a small apartment. And that was our first. We just bought a simple 7 unit apartment among three partners, and we went ahead. And one person was local. He had all the knowledge, know-how. Um, he and his wife were, they have been flipping apartments for the entire career. And I thought this formed a lot of synergy where we can put in, contribute something, and they are local and we manage this apartment. So that was my first small step. And simultaneously, I was talking to somebody else who was buying a 123-unit apartment, right? So seven and 123, right? And the way it works there is they form a syndication, which is SEC governed a vehicle, right? So the general partners come together, they raise money from investors, and we buy the apartment. The investors get their shareholding, we get our shareholding. We manage, operate it, and raise the value, and we sell it off in a few years, and also get our checks every month coming into our accounts, bank accounts, in the shareholders' accounts too, um, from the rents that we get, right? So these two discussions were happening parallelly. And um, I think the 7 unit was closed in like 2 3 weeks. We closed we took over the property, started doing this. Syndication takes a long time because it has a legal due diligence process with the SEC and with the attorneys. So the 123 unit is where I reached out to friends, family. I brought in investors, and we raised around $2.5 million to go and buy that 123 unit apartment. And uh, so what happened was, right in my first step, or my first deal, right, or two deals, you could say. I I could see the entire spectrum from what happens with a small thing with three people to what happens with a large thing with five general partners and say 35 investors, right? Like so
Wow. Okay.
almost a group of 40, 45 people buying a large apartment and three people buying a small multifamily. So that was my first deal experience, I would say.
So what was the difference from the JV and the syndication? You said you learned, I guess, two different sides. And what was your biggest takeaways from those?
So the biggest takeaway is one in JVs, you pretty much move fast because the partners are responsible, accountable. They just go in, whoever joins hands. Uh, we go in, we submit our papers to the lender, to the we give our dates, we contribute our money. The lender approves the loan, we go in and buy, right? So mostly the timeline is usually dependent on how much time the lender takes to basically approve your loan and get the money in the bank, because everything else is pretty much time. We have our attorneys who get our operating agreements. The partners have already had a chat about how the structure would be, how the contributions would be, right? So it's pretty much in you feel much more in control, and you can drive the dates and you can make sure that it happens within deadlines.
Hold
When
on.
it comes to
So wait.
syndications,
So
yeah, sorry.
that JV, you said you're talking to your attorneys, you guys get the operating agreement, and it was you, the husband and the wife, or it was
There's one more couple. So three entities. Yeah,
okay, got it. And then you
yeah.
guys formed what, one
We
entity?
formed we formed one entity.
Mhm.
We formed, and the operating agreement had our names and our partnership stakes and contributions. And that entity purchased that 7 unit apartment.
Okay, got it. Was that in the LLC or
Yes,
LLP?
yes, that's an LLC.
In the LLC. And
Yes,
what state was this?
this was in Colorado.
Okay, so you guys, and you're in California. Where
Yeah,
were the other?
one was in Colorado, the other was in Miami.
So one in Colorado, one in Miami, and one in California. And you
Yeah,
guys formed the LLC in Colorado
Colorado. Yeah.
as individuals, owners of the LLC.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And that's easier because it's just you guys coming together
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
doing that.
We we coming together, sitting in front of the attorney, going over the operating agreement. I agreeing to various things, signing off. So the LLC is ready, and our process is already started with the broker and the lender. And they take, because we are partners, they take our individual documents, papers, they sign us up, they do our credit checks, background checks, right?
Mhm.
And that's how they approve the loan. So that process is already going on the side. So it's pretty much quicker, faster, much more control. Even after closing, the decisions are fast because we discuss and we meet regularly, and one partner being local and are responsible for the rehab work or any kind of construction and all. So it's pretty well sorted out, where each one has his responsibility and accountability, and we drive it together.
So who's everybody has their own, like, I know syndication, everybody has their own superpower. Same thing with this situation or no?
Yes, I would say same thing with this situation, but in syndication, there are some people who need to have that kind of network and relationship to bring in investors, right? Uh, so there's an external component involved where we go out to the in the outside world and market it and promote it, right? In the joint venture, similar strengths are involved, but at the same time, we also contribute something from our pockets to buying that apartment, right? So uh, I prefer that mode. There are joint ventures where there are some only local boots on the ground. They don't contribute anything to the deal, but because they manage the property, and they have some activities, responsibilities that the out of state partners want them to do, and that's when they get a piece of the joint venture, even though they don't put in anything in the deal, right? um, but it works. There are 3-4 types of joint ventures that you can do. It's just sweat equity. Sometimes a partner may be only for sweat equity. Sometimes
You
it is,
said sweat equity?
yeah, sweat equity is where people come in and put effort rather than money in the joint venture.
You're talking about the management
Yes.
of the,
Yeah.
okay, got it. The
Yeah.
contractors and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
So the effort would be, I visit the property every week. I go and look at the construction that's going on, the contractor work that's going on. I Either I manage the property, or I am close in touch with the property manager and going through the strategy of what we need to do in the property. So that's just sweat equity. I don't put any money in the deal, right? But because there are some remote partners who needed a local partner to manage the property that they had bought, and they wanted some local boots on the ground, they approached me to become a partner in their joint venture, right? So
To
that's
be
that's
to be the local boots on ground.
yes.
So you would go from California. You have how many joint ventures have you done?
7.
7. Okay.
Yeah.
And you are the, when you say local boots on the ground, but you're in California though. So you just,
So my partner, whoever is local, he's the boots on the ground partner, right?
mm,
So, like for example, in Colorado, we had this couple, and they managed the whole local boots on the ground activities, as well as they put in some money. So they were both sweat equity plus uh, contribution, a dollar contribution partners. Um, But for example, there's another one that I'm doing in Dallas, where
mhm.
this person is local, and he literally lives like 3 miles away, where we met in a real estate event, and he's agreed to be boots on the ground. So we are by myself, my partner from Nashville, and another one from Florida. Three of us are buying that property, but we are not local. He is local, so we give him some piece of our joint venture partnership to manage the activities that a local person needs to do.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So in your situation, being the sweat equity, you were, do you guys self-manage or use property manager for all that? Go ahead.
So we have a property manager, but we have a big construction plan, right? Right from day one, right? So we are out of state partners, right? We
Right.
put in our money and we bought the property.
Mhm.
This local partner is going to be our boots on the ground, and but he's a partner in our joint venture as a fourth person, and his partnership stake is because of the effort that he's going to take to go there every month, every week, to see how the construction is happening, to make sure the contractors are in place, are on time, they do their work on time, to make sure that the property manager is getting the tenants, and the marketing is happening properly. So he's more of putting his effort and time into our partnership, whereas we are putting in the money and the strategy into the partnership.
Okay, got it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was joint ventures. And just to answer your first question, so and syndication works, it kind of involves some kind of legal documentation process, because when you syndicate money, the SEC comes into picture. You're bringing in people and pooling in their money and buying something. So the documentation is extensive. The operators, the general partners, the 4 or 5 people who come together and reach out to investors, those 4 or 5 people are are the ones who go through that documentation process, make it ready, make it compliant to SEC guidelines, uh, make it compliant by way of having the right attorney, document all these all the partnership agreements, the operating agreements, the syndication documents. So what happens is, when an investor comes in syndication, he signs a subscription for the money that he puts in. He could put 25,000, 50,000, 100,000, right? So he becomes a shareholder of that large property for that amount, and he signs those subscription documents. So those documents have to be prepared. They have to be approved legally from the SEC. And the general partners, who are the operators, of this property, like myself and few other people, we make sure that the entire process is legally compliant. It follows SEC guidelines, and it is in the legal purview of how a syndication would work. And once that happens, then we I mean, obviously, the lender process, we can start with our operating agreements and subscriptions, but towards the end of the syndication process, it's primarily the lender, the broker, and our legal documents that and the subscription documents from the shareholders who have put in money. Those are the things that matter for the closing, right? So these are some things that people need to be aware of when the syndication happens. Many times people say, "Oh, we are putting in money on this large deal," but we don't know these people. Sometimes if it's a class, let's say it's a class C or a 506C offering. What does 506C mean? 506C means I can market this property on all social media. Even if I don't know somebody, they can invest in my deal. That's a 506C offering. A 506B offering is where only my friends and family and people I know and have spoken to can invest, right? So these are two types of offerings. So the legal compliance and guidelines should fit in this. None of our, if it's a Class B offering, we have to make sure none of our, all of our investors are somebody we know and we have spoken to and we have a prior relationship with. If it's a 506C offering, anybody can invest. But sometimes what happens is, uh, just as an example, word gets out, and then some person that we as general partners don't have a prior relationship with, they put in money in our offering, and we need to return it back to them because there is no prior relationship with them. It's only for friends and family, right? Because we decided to have this offering as a 506B offering, right? Which means friends and family only. So, so all these kinds of things, different things, we have to follow the guidelines to the T, make sure it falls within the purview, get it reviewed, audited from attorneys, submit it to the SOC, and only when we get an approval, that's when the closing process starts. The lender takes over, and we can go ahead and close the deal. So and every investor gets a shareholding. As per the shareholding, whatever income the property generates, and the general partners decide the split decided between how much a general partners would get, how much the limited partners investors would get. It's all in the subscription. When you sign, you know exactly what you're signing up for, right? So based on that, your monthly or quarterly checks keep coming into your account. The general partners work on the strategy, business plan, raise the value, the income of the property, and continue operating it. And at a certain point of time, they may decide to sell or refinance, for example, refinance, give back the investors' money, or even sell and give the profit to the investors. So that's in a nutshell. I spoke about different things, but I just wanted to highlight that the joint ventures need not be so complicated, whereas syndication involves some complex procedures with some additional legal and SEC guidelines that are necessary to be followed so that our investors are protected and their shareholding is protected.
Man, that's real good. Good, good. Definitely dropping some gems here. Hey, so for our listeners, this is definitely going to be a great episode, and I knew that. So coming from, I just got a question. So the
Sure.
JV, you explained JVs, you talked about your syndications. Which one do you like better and why?
Uh, it's a it's a tough choice. I'll tell you why. It's as a person, your personality kind of defines your choice first, right? So for me, it always was, I like things moving fast and have more control in how things are moving fast, right? So joint ventures allow more of that because it's a small team, small group, and you can drive things quickly, right? Whereas in syndications, you have like these other 10 people to deal with, including attorneys, entities, and documentation and all.
Wait. When you say
Yeah.
10 people to deal with, are you talking about your LP investors or just
Uh,
the
well,
additional?
LP investors could be one part of it, right? But when I say 10 people is where the attorneys come into picture. They have certain guidelines of how
Uh,
it would be, right?
right.
Your general partners come into
Or
picture where they we are kind of deciding how it's going to be, who's, because the general partners also have some shareholding and contribution, right? Who is going to do what, and um, what are the responsibilities, accountabilities with respect to syndication, right? So
hold
that's the
on,
second.
hold on.
Yeah.
So, general, when you're on a JV, you have like four people. When you're on your syndication, is it about the same amount of general partners versus the JV?
Well, it could, if depends on the size of the property and the roles, but if it should not be more than 8 to 9 general partners on a syndication, because because there is not, maximum 8 to 9 people are needed. Above that, it's not recommended, it's not necessary, and even SEC guidelines suggest that having too many general partners, then there's no one responsible and accountable for shareholders' money, right? So on my syndications, we have average around five partners have been average, 5 to 6,
Okay,
right?
got it. So just
All my syndications are 100 plus units.
okay, got it. So to go back, you said the more complex, well, kind of the nuances of the syndication was you said the attorneys, the general partners, and what else?
The attorneys, the general partners themselves have, like, few entities. For example, the way the general partners contribution is split, where we need to look at someone who's going to bring in more shareholders or investors. There's somebody who does due diligence, there's somebody who does asset management. How do we split that, right? There's so the attorney is there, the general partners are there, the broker is there because he's constantly wants to know how it's going, because it takes a long time. Right? uh, the lenders have their own underwriting team, the lenders have their own process and guidelines of doing it, right? And it's not just one lender. When you do a syndication, you have various options. Like, you could do a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac kind of conventional loan. You can do a hard money loan. You can do a bridge loan. You know, these kind of options are available even in joint ventures. But as soon as the syndication world is attached to these terminologies, then there's an additional documentation involved. There's a who signs the loan. For example, the reason I said that is, when the general partners come together, there is one person who, or one entity, or it could be multiple entities, who are the key sponsors of the syndication. Every syndication needs to have a key sponsor, right? What that key sponsor does is, that key sponsor should have enough net worth to cover the amount that we are lending. Number one. Number two, that person should have enough liquidity or money in the bank uh, for to cover at least 10% of the loan amount that we are taking, right? So we have to go and find this person. We have to get this person on board. We have to give enough split to that person. So when I said, like, there are 10 different entities, these are, it's part of the same group, but there are 10 different people who have various roles defined by the lenders, by the SECs, by the attorneys, which need to be filled, right? So the lender say, who's your key sponsor? Then we need to have that key sponsor. When the key sponsor comes in, he needs to know what he's going to get out of it, right? Just as an example. Then that key sponsor has some responsibility, liability when he signs on the loan guarantee, right? It could be a recourse or a non-recourse loan. So these things in a syndication world take more time and are more complex discussions than in a joint venture discussion, where you and I and another person can sit together and we can discuss and just form something and say, okay, this is what it will be, and we go to the attorney and he'll get it done in joint ventures. But here, it all happens. It takes a while to decide. It takes a while to get together, really get the right people together, have those roles and responsibilities defined. Lot of negotiation happens because it's a large deal, and shareholders' money, external money is involved, right? So the shareholder is the fourth entity there, right? Because each I may have 10 shareholders, somebody else may have ten investors. They are calling every time how, when it will close, how is the process going, how far have you guys reached. So that's another thing that we need to deal at the closing stage. For example, we are going through that right now. uh, there are various stages where large loans are approved, right? Where the underwriting team is okay with it, where the lender brokers are okay with it, where the lender committee is okay with it, and then it goes to the approval stage, right? All these people look at those complex documents that you have collected and you have, right? And they make sure that it falls in the legal purview or the SEC guidelines. In the joint venture, you have your operating agreement between the partners. You have each one's credit score, and that's it. That that and the property documents that goes to the that goes to the various entities. Here,
You said the
it needs,
property documents?
like we the due diligence documents where we have the rent roll. This applicable to both sides. We have the rent roll, we have the income expense statements, we have the property tax records from the seller, we have insurance claims or anything that goes on in the property. Uh, we have any rehab or construction work receipts or any evidence that was done. So all these things various entities need to look at before they decide. Like for example, before even the lender decides how much they would like to give on this property, and what does what prospects does the property have. So these are necessary documents that you need from the seller. Sometimes they don't have it. If it's an old retiring seller, maybe they for smaller properties. For large properties, usually you will find many documents in place. But for smaller properties, uh, many times these retiring sellers, they don't have many documents, so you sit with them and you create a document based on what they tell you, and those documents can be submitted to your attorneys and to the lenders.
Okay, nice, nice. So which one do you like better?
So yeah, I think that's how we started, right? So I
Yeah.
told you, JV, personality wise, I like things moving fast. So JV was one, but the reason I don't want, I would not say that's better and this is not, is because syndications allow you to grow faster, right? As so, what happens is when you are managing large, because of the economies of scale, you are managing large apartments, you are managing large units, you are managing large number of tenants, which also means you are managing a large income stream, right? So if you have, if you are managing a piece of larger income streams, your additional income, or your separate income stream can can grow very fast if you build up those large unit count and becoming a partner on the large unit deals.